Hello and welcome to Blythe Business News. There's been a lot of talk in recent months about the importance of the green economy and about electric vehicles. But to make all of those things work, we're going to need the magnets. And to get the magnets working properly, we're going to need things called rare earths. Now, today we're joined by Mann and Allan Walton, who are both from HyProMag. They're going to tell us a little bit about what HyProMag does to make rare earths come to life, as it were. So, Nick, can I come to you first of all? You've heard the intro. Tell us a bit about HyProMag and what you do.
Yes, hello. Yeah, HyProMag, we're all about recycling end-of-life rare earth magnets. So we're a new company based in Birmingham, and we're using the patented process developed at the University of Birmingham, which is hydrogen processing of magnetic scrap. We extract the neodymium-based magnets from end-of-life products. So at the moment, there's a Chinese stranglehold on primary material, also on magnet supply. So we believe there's a gap in the market for material produced in the UK, as well as an opportunity to recycle end-of-life magnets, which at the moment remain mostly unrecovered.
So I guess what you're doing is you're giving the UK and perhaps other international manufacturers who need magnets a bit of security of supply in as much as they haven't got to rely on China. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly that. That's a good portion of what our aim is to achieve.
Now, I understand that together with the AIM-listed company Macango Resources, you've recently announced something like 2.6 million of UK government grant funding for rare earth recycling for e-machines. It's a project you're doing. Can you tell us a bit more about that, please?
Yes, of course. So the project's funded by the Office for Low Emission Vehicles, which is via Innovate UK, who are a government-based grant awarding body. So we're working with a fantastic group of companies, really, with an aim to manufacture a magnet using recycled material for an automotive motor. So Intelligent Lifecycle Solutions are providing with scrap from hard disk drives. And together with the University of Birmingham, we'll recycle that scrap material into a new magnet for an automotive motor. Advanced Electrical Machines are designing the motor to a Bentley motor spec. And then Unipart will take the manufacture of that motor to scale. So yeah, we're quite excited about showcasing the potential for our process and looking forward to developing the project with our partners.
So Allan, I understand one of the key benefits that you have, or advantages that you have, is this patented hydrogen processing for the scrap magnets. Bearing in mind, many of our viewers are not eminently qualified scientists. In layman's terms, can you please explain the benefits that brings?
Yeah, so if you were to try and recycle a magnet today from an application such as a hard disk drive, one of the problems is that with current technology, you would typically shred the hard disk drive and then you separate the various metals and plastics afterwards, after you've broken it into pieces. Now, part of the problem with rare earth magnets is they're extremely brittle. When it goes through a shredder, the magnet material breaks apart, and the powder it generates is still magnetic, so it sticks to all the ferrous scrap, forms a big ball of material, and then it sticks to the shredder itself, so you can't separate it easily. And the value of that material is very low. So the hydrogen process that Nick alluded to, we basically place the electronic components into a hydrogen reactor. This is all atmospheric pressure, room temperature. We expose the material to hydrogen, and the hydrogen goes into the magnetic material. It's absorbed by it. The material expands. It can't cope with that volume expansion, and it breaks apart to a powder in around 40 minutes for a magnet about the size of the one in a hard disk drive. And crucially, though, it demagnetizes the powder that's generated. And that means that when we spin the electronics, the powder is liberated from the electronics and we can collect it. We can purify that material, and it's in the form of an alloy powder. And that means we can literally take the alloy powder, because it's so clean, and we can remanufacture it by pressing and sintering straight back into a solid magnet with a much lower environmental footprint than primary.
So essentially you're getting the magnetic bits from, say, a computer through a non-magnetic stage and then back into being magnetized again. Is that right?
Kind of. So it's demagnetized as a powder. But typically when you make a magnet, you press it into a solid, And then after it's actually been manufactured, you then magnetize it by pulsing it in a magnetic field afterwards. So it kind of goes through the whole loop again, but we essentially short loop recycle it because, there are multiple steps to make a magnet. Because we keep it as an alloy, we just put it into the back end of that supply chain and literally press the powder into a solid. We heat it up, form a dense compact, and then that's your final magnet from a typical magnet manufacturer, and then we pulse it afterwards for use.
So thanks, Alan. Presumably this is technology that's been invented in the UK, is that right?
Yeah, at the University of Birmingham. It's within the magnetic materials group in metallurgy materials.
And so tell me how the project aid, how is it going to work for the development of the supply chains to support growth, say, in electric vehicles? How is that going to benefit?
Yeah, so essentially you need to have the full supply chain involved, from the scrap provider all the way up to the end user, with the processing company in the middle. Now, one of the interesting dynamics at the moment for a supply chain for magnets is that a lot of the magnets that are available today are actually in things like hard disk drives or electronics and loudspeakers. So you have to involve a slightly different markets to provide the material at the beginning. Then you need the processing company. And the idea is to then re-engineer the composition of that magnet so it's suitable for another application. And in this case, it would be an automotive application. But actually, as you look at the market developing through time, there'll be many, many different scrap sources from different markets. And obviously, they will expand and contract at different rates through time.
And is this something which, I don't know, is the UK world leading in the technologies that you're developing?
Yeah, so the group at Birmingham has been around for about 40 years. So it used to be led by Professor Rex Harris, who's an emeritus professor in the group. So he's still very active in the group today. So he actually started the recycling activity in Birmingham. And actually, if you look at the way sintered rare earth magnets are made today, many of the processes that Rex worked on are actually used commercially around the world. So the group is known worldwide for processing of rare earth permanent magnet materials.
And these are going to be, I guess, vital. There's a lot of talk about green and sustainable economies, but what you're doing is actually fundamentally making this happen. Is that right?
Yeah, so if you imagine to make a magnet from primary material, you would dig the material out the ground. You'd have to crush the rocks into a finer powder. And then it goes through a chemical process, a high electrowinning process similar to aluminium. Then it's cast at higher temperature. And then eventually you end up with an alloy powder further down the process. Well, essentially what we're doing is taking the alloy powder directly from the electronics and putting it back in at that point. So the environmental impact of this process is tiny compared to primary production. So not only is it a secure supply of material, but also the environmental benefits are very large.
And Nick, can I come back to you finally, please? So what's the next steps of the next 6 months, 12 months? What does HyProMag do next?
Well, obviously our initial focus is succeeding in the rare earth recycling free machines project. But then we want to further develop our manufacturing capabilities to encompass more products. There's some magnet manufacturing in Europe and Japan, but really dwarfed by the volumes coming from China. And we want to work with and support the UK industry and the wider supply chain to provide a source of magnets, helping society move forwards technologically and simultaneously significantly reducing the environmental impact of that technology.
That was Nick Mann and Allan Walton, the directors of HyProMag, telling us about their UK-based and world-leading technologies for the development of rare earths and the applications of rare earths in the electric vehicles and green technology markets. One of the key investors in HyProMag is the AIM-listed company Macango Resources. That's it from Blythe Business News today. Thank you for watching.